Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
And
wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
Oh, look at that. Will you look at that? Have you looked at that? I'm looking at that. Now, what happened? The band isn't out loud again. Either that or my ears are shot again. One of the three. Two. One of the two threes. I don't know. It's not loud. Something's gone wrong. Something's gone very, very wrong. Yes, good morning, folks. It is Monday, March 4th, which is also a command, by the way. March 4th, 2024. I hope it's a beautiful, almost spring day where you are. It's a dreary kind of looking, almost spring day here. Yesterday was beautiful. It was a spring day. We had one, but other than that, it's been pretty shitty here. But we roll on. We roll on. Spring is coming. I promise you that. Happy birthday month to Miss Bean Flicker or Ms. Bean Flicker. Maybe it's Mrs. Bean Flicker. I never really got to that whole, whether it's Ms., or Mrs., or Miss, or Miss, or Mrs. I missed that. How was your weekend? Mine was interesting. When I left here, when last we met, was going to a gig and a nursing home gig. And played for a very big crowd of pretty much sleeping people. I don't know. I think they fed them turkey lunch or something to make them go to sleep. But one lady was there was out of about 100 or so people. There were about 10 people who were awake and enjoying it. And one lady in particular was enjoying it. She was talking to me after every song. And she said, "Do you hear me?" I said, "I don't really hear what you're saying. I'll talk to you after the show. I'm kind of deaf. I'm a deaf musician." And then I went over to talk to her after the show, and she said, "Are you my son?" I said, "No." And then she started crying, really weeping. I thought you were my son. Where's my son? Friggin' heartbroken. Set the tone for the whole weekend. Just like in a depressed mood from from that moment on. Like I know I can't get this lady out of my head. How? Because I can relate. Listen, if you know me and you know my story, you know I can relate. Apparently, her son had passed before she has. And that no parent wants to go through that. But just seeing like you get to the end of your life and the dementia sets in, and you can't even tell who the people are you're looking at. Oh my God. So that's the way we're starting a Monday morning. I'm sharing my depression with you. Um, Saturday night, we had a gig with the band, a bar gig, which we don't play a lot of bar gigs at this point in our lives. Typical old honky tonk bar, no stage, in the corner by the ladies' room. Place was kind of packed, but we were playing with a drummer that we had never really played with before. Mikey and I had done some stuff with her band at one time, but she'd never played with the Rockin' 45, the full, especially the honky tonk bar version of the Rockin' 45s, which is supposed to be a little bit harder, a little bit more in your face, and she is, to say the least, not a hard hitter. Um, and so it was a bit of a struggle. She did what she could and kept up, but um, it was not the Rockin' 45 experience. So I got home late, and I was kind of in a weird mood, still a little bit depressed from from Friday's experience, and still today I am. But so I didn't get high at all during the gig, but I got home at like 1:30 or so, and then ate a couple of gummies, and I thought that would help me sleep. But sativa gummies actually have the opposite effect. It made me up and wanting to do things. So I was doing things until about 5:30 in the morning, and then set my alarm for church, uh, and thought I'd get a couple of hours sleep and just slept through it. And even after I got up, I was still in a groggy state of mind, like all day yesterday. And then I had a gig yesterday, which was not a great one either. So it's been a interesting weekend. I'm in a kind of a downer mood. This week is going to be a good week, and today, well, it's going to be a challenging week. Sam Talent, the one and only Sam Talent, is at Governor's this weekend, and I will be doing the show Friday from the Governor's studio, and then Sam will be on Knock 'Em Dead Comedy when this show ends on Friday. Now that's going to be a difficult thing for me because I got to get up really early. I got to get there, make sure their equipment works to do this. If not, I might end up having to do it on my phone, God forbid. Uh, and so that it could be a little tricky. But we're looking forward to at least seeing Sam and having some fun with him on Knock 'Em Dead. Of course, this is too early to get him out of bed and in the studio over there. Plus, we have guests lined up. Today today and tomorrow we have trans comedians on. I think I probably have to. This could be the record. I mean, I could have the Guinness Book world record for most trans comedians on as guests. I think I really do. I don't know why, but and listen, I'm not saying there's anything good or bad about it. I'm just saying, as a statement of fact, we have a lot of trans comedians, or maybe there's far more than I ever imagined. But we have one on today, and we have one on tomorrow. We have one that today, a guy who used to be a girl, and then tomorrow we have a girl who used to be a guy. And I still don't know anything about transgenderism. I don't know. I'm clueless. I'm an old, goofy old man who grew up in a world where we didn't really talk about that kind of stuff. But after all the interviews I've had, I'm still clueless about it, and I probably will be even after tomorrow. But also tomorrow we have a clown on. Yeah, a real clown. A clown. Laugh clown, one of those clowns in full makeup, not Puddles. I wish it was Puddles. And listen, not to put down the person who is coming on, but I've been trying to get Puddles on a couple of years now. Puddles is giving me the cold shoulder, the clown shoulder, cold clown shoulder. Say that 3 times fast. Cold clown shoulder. Can't do it. I can't do it. Little bit of jelly roll drama over the weekend. I'm gonna wrestle Jelly Roll, sumo wrestle. I think if he'll have me. Well, maybe we'll talk about that at some point. What else is there to talk about? Really, I had some other things in mind, but you know what? Time is short, and so is Joe Rogan. So why don't we just say hello to the men in the dog pound? Start with this guy and then add this guy. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. MindDogTV.com, the only place to go to get your Mind Dog tennis shoes so that you can throw up on them on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I wanted to give you a little warning about that, Willie. If you're going to be in town for St. Patrick's Day, I haven't been for I haven't been to the parade, or the Central Park nonsense in many, many years, decades. But I will tell you this: that Irish guys on St. Patrick's Day in New York, they like to get really drunk, but they also like to beat the shit out of each other for fun.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's not like we're
So-
looking for a fight or we hate you. It's that I love you and let's punch the fuck out of each other.
Like my childhood.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just beware of
Yeah,
that.
no. When I was staying in LA back in 2003, I stayed at the Hollywood Bungalow Hostel, and there was like 6 dudes from Ireland that were staying there as well. And I went out drinking with those guys one night, and one of the wildest nights of my life. And I actually tapped out early because they fucking drank me way under the fucking table. And so I tapped out early, and then the next place they went to after I left, they ran into Kelly Osbourne. I was so pissed. I was so mad.
But did they beat the shit out of each other?
Guys, they take the I mean they horseplayed quite a bit. So I mean it wouldn't surprise me that when drinking has taken its full effect that it gets more heated and not necessarily heated because like you're saying, it's not like they're mad at each other. That's how they have fun. It's by getting punched in the face. They have a good time that way. Irish people are different.
Yeah, they totally, yeah. But I've seen some of the most intense beatings on St. Patrick's Day in Central Park. And, like, thank God I don't look Irish because I would have been involved in it. Yeah, I think you have to be. It's like obligatory. You're Irish, you need a punch in the face today.
I was wondering
now they're going to have 2 parades in New York. Right, they're going to have 2 parades in New York. They're going to have the violent one, and then they're going to have the rainbow one. So you can go to the non-violent rainbow parade.
They didn't have any rainbow one when I was going.
No,
it wasn't. We had no rainbow.
Do you have a gig on St. Patty's Day? Do you have a gig that night?
No, I don't think so.
What's a Sunday night?
Oh well, the St. Patty's Day is actually Sunday. So, but what about Saturday? The 16th.
Oh yeah, I do have a gig that night. Yeah. Oh, that's not going to be fun. Well, no. I don't like St. Patrick's Day gigs. I don't like New Year's gigs. I don't like Halloween gigs. They used to be the best gig, and the best one was the night before Thanksgiving. But now it's just I'm too old for that nonsense. It's totally people just getting shit faced because they can get shit faced, and it's like you're not even enjoying the drink. You're just looking to get it as plastered as you can, as fast as you can, and then cause trouble. And I'm too old for that.
I have to say, as a Wiccan, getting into like the older Celtic ways, I'm not such a big fan of St. Patrick's Day because I don't know if you know this, but it's like celebrating St. Patrick, like pushing out the occult religions for Christianity. That's
right,
really
the
what the celebration is.
Yeah,
the snakes are the unbelievers, like people that believe the shit I believe. You know what I mean? So it's like, fuck you, St. Pat.
Right.
Dick.
Yeah, but changing gears here a little bit. Well, what time are we? We're close to where our guest is supposed to be arriving. There, we should start taking bets on whether people are going to show up.
Man, you know what? If we could get that to be a Vegas line, that'd be fucking great. Whether or not the fucking coffee with the dog guest shows up, that'd be fucking awesome.
It would be.
You got to know somebody that can make that happen, man. I know you.
They would bet on themselves and not show up.
Yeah.
Especially comedians.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
on
true.
A Friday.
That is true.
Because they need the money. They need to eat. So they'll be like, bet on me. I'm not showing up.
Right. Now, there's still some stuff going on. Still a lot of chatter in the comedy world about these dudes in the Seattle club. John Pavarano is going to be with me on Wednesday, and we're going to kind of talk about this. He wanted to talk about it. There was some shit going on Facebook about it. The 4 dudes that got gigs canceled. They did not get canceled. See, they want to call this cancel culture. If you get a gig one show canceled with enough advance notice, you're not canceled. That show is canceled, and you have plenty of time to book something else for that night. There's a big difference between that and what they call being canceled, where nobody will hire you or you've been boycotted and all that kind of stuff. So, but they're playing it up like, oh, I've been canceled. I'm a victim of cancel culture. No, dude, you lost a gig. It's happened to me 1,000 times in 50 years. And you don't take to social media to get people to fight your battles for you. You call the guy up and say, what's the matter? Can we work this out? I understand we're not going to sell a lot of tickets in that area. Whatever the problem is, you work it out offline. You don't. But just Kurt Metzger just saw that the only right thing to do was go to social media and incite fans and cause a riot and all that stuff.
Matt, can I ask a favor real quick?
Yeah.
I can ask. You don't have to grant it.
Yeah.
Could you put me on the bottom? My sinuses are really kicking my butt today, and Will is smoking, and it's just going straight up into my square. And
we could put.
Thank you. My
Actually,
sinuses, I'm already.
We could put a smoke screen on you too, like this. Let's see here. There you go.
Filter.
Now,
Thank you. Where the white women at? There you go. A filter. Yeah. Thank you. I could that much. Thank you. That's much better.
No, I'm getting it. It's coming over here.
See, maybe we should both be bottoms and let
now,
be a top.
have either of you had a gig canceled before?
Me? Yes.
So you're a victim of cancel culture?
I don't call it cancel culture because I'd have to have culture, but yeah.
No, seriously.
Only because of weather. The only gigs I've had canceled are because of weather, and then I had to cancel a couple because a couple of years ago, both the windshield and the back window of my car got broke out. I think you remember that.
Yeah, let me remind you of one more where it wasn't because of weather. It was a show you were producing in Albuquerque, and they didn't sell any.
Oh yeah. Yep. That one that I was supposed to do with Royal Wood.
Now that was on short notice, right? That was on short notice that got canceled. They didn't tell you until like a week before or a couple of nights before.
The band pulled out too. Like, and that was last minute. So I don't know what all that was.
Right. So the bottom line is that shit happens in business, and sometimes the club's not going to make any money. They recognize that in advance and say, sorry, we made a bad deal. The show's off. It happens.
Oh, and I did have one show that I booked here in Grants that absolutely no one showed up for. So I don't know if that's called canceling. Like, we were there, we were ready for a show. There was just zero audience.
Well, see, that's exactly what was going to happen to Kurt Metzger if he went to the Seattle Comedy Club. Nobody would have showed up. And I get that people don't like that it's because of his politics. That's a thing, but you can be upset but you can't blame the club because the city doesn't have anybody who relates to your political views, and nobody's going to buy tickets to see you. Right. That's not the club's fault. They booked it thinking, probably booked it through an agency and got all four of them, and then realized that nobody's going to come to see these guys. And then said, but plenty of times said, sorry, we're going to have to cancel those shows. You can make other arrangements. But also in the letter, it said, if you have any concerns or questions about this, feel free to contact us directly and we can discuss it. But Kurt thought, well, I'm just going to go to social media and start a war on this and get people to boycott the club for a long term for one gig. People are failing to see the business side of it here, because as a conservative, but Kurt claims to be, he wants businesses to be able to say, I'm not going to sell a cake to somebody I don't like because of their sexual preference, but he doesn't like a business to be able to say, I'm not going to have you perform here because of your political.
And you can't have it both ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So, but so John and I are going to have that discussion. It's probably a week late, and nobody will care by the time we have that discussion. But it was my excuse to get Pavaramo back on, because he's a dodging me. He don't like to get up in the morning. He's a late night guy at 40 years old. He's still a kid with his long hair and his dopey little comedy. So
Jeez.
Don't be a little comedy. Anyway, so that I'm looking forward to seeing Sam on Friday at Governor's. Now, Tony,
sorry, my earbuds out. I can't hear words you're saying if you're saying anything.
That's fine. No, I'm talking about you. Yeah, GD. Man, what a loser. Let's get rid of him. Sam. I mean, Tony Walker has been talking up Long Island egg sandwiches to Sam Talent. Got Sam all.
I mean,
excited.
I'm a fan of egg sandwich, like egg salad sandwiches.
No, a Long Island thing is bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll, salt, pepper, ketchup. So they just call BECSKP. But we're big on morning egg sandwiches here. Every deli, so bacon, ham, and cheese. Ham and egg and cheese, bacon, egg and cheese, sausage, egg and cheese. Big on the egg sandwiches. And Tony probably goes to the place right next to Governor's every day. They got the best egg sandwiches on Long Island. So now Sam is from Colorado. He doesn't know the culture here, that life revolves around morning egg sandwiches. So he got them all excited about this wonderful world of Long Island egg sandwiches, like it's going to be a big thing. And so Sam is, and I'm sure it's going to be a disappointment. It's like, this is what you get excited about? It's just eggs on a roll. Whatever.
Listen, if you can't be excited about the little things in life, you're going to have a terrible life.
Oh, Sam is definitely a big kid. He is a big kid. I'm sure this is the thing. He's really excited about it. So, but for me, it's just like, you're going to be disappointed, man. I hate looking for an interesting culinary experience. Bacon, egg, and cheese from the deli next door is not going to satisfy you. Anyway, let's play a commercial, and then we're going to meet our guest, who's patiently waiting in the green room. Let's see what we're going to do here as far as commercials today. You know what? We haven't played Daily High Club.
Do we have the commercials for bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches?
No, I'm going to get a bacon, egg, and cheese provider, but they only work on Long Island. You can't get them anywhere else in the universe.
Oh, that's selfish.
Yeah, but Daily High Club. Daily High Club, you can get
in Long Island. They're cutting out half their market.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's get high.
With humble East Coast beginnings in 2015, Daily High Club is the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and consumption accessories. If you're looking to elevate your smoking game to the next level, you're in the right place. With over 1 million top quality smoking products sold, and with a growing base of over 10,000 monthly subscribers worldwide, we deliver the ultimate smoking experience. But Daily High Club is not just another retailer. We're lovers of the smoking scene ourselves, working with giants like Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, Chanel West Coast, and more. Ready to join the Daily High Club?
Giants.
Let our experts curate your collection with our awesome El Primo monthly subscription box.
I want to get high with a giant.
Grab one of our fun and unique pieces from our smoke shop. Get started today. Visit minddogtv.com and click on the banner on the homepage.
I have to learn how to. First, I have to learn how to see again. It's probably time for up down LASIK or whatever they call it now. My eyes are so bad. And my typing is so bad, and all of it together. It's just getting worse and worse. So in the description here, Ren Q Daw is a trans activist, stand-up comedian, and a writer. He have performed all over the country. And has been seen in comedy festivals in Portland, New York. He have. Anyway, he's here now. Let's welcome in Ren Q. Good morning.
Good morning, all. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I have been good.
You have been. No, it has been good. It has been good. I mentioned this morning.
English major out there just losing their mind right now.
Yeah. Let me no, we could stay in this format for a while, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, so this morning, in my little opening spiel there, I said I think I've had more trans comedians on than anybody. I think I belong in the Guinness Book of World Records. And I don't know why that is. It's just like maybe it's just because we have an open door policy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of draws us like miles to a flame, but that's awesome. I love to hear that.
There were when
We're
I
not judgy.
when I was a young person, I think there might have been one trans comedian that it seems to be like in comedy now. If you're a trans person, you're gonna gravitate towards comedy. I don't know. We're seeing more. Maybe it's just because it's more open and more talked about. When I was a young person, we didn't even know. We never used the word transgendered or any of that kind of stuff. Are there more transgender people in the world of comedy?
That's a good question. I think that at least for me, like it was definitely I love comedy. I've always loved comedy. I loved comedy before I knew I was trans. And then, getting to see a bunch of like really mediocre, typically white men just make not great jokes about like my life when I was like, dude, my life is a joke. My life is hilarious. I literally lost a dick on the public restroom floor yesterday. Like, come on, man. Like I could get a better joke, right? And so I think that isn't a isolated experience, right? I think that there's like plenty of people out there that are just like, you know what, I could probably make a funnier joke than that, and then people have. So yeah, I think that there's certainly like more trans people in entertainment now as well, because they're actually able to get work on something that's not just like a B-roll film or just like a smut film, and so we're seeing that across like all like entertainment industries, I think.
Interesting stuff.
I
Because
have a
wait,
I have a
hold
sitcom.
up, hold
No,
up.
no, okay,
Yes, I'll
no.
mute you, you bastard. There you go. He's muted.
Rude.
Like that. We could almost still hear him, right? No,
Almost.
I thought. Oh,
I'm
I thought.
My
feeling the
parents were
energy like through.
Anyway, because where I wanted to go with this is Dave Chappelle, and I'm sure you're quite aware, caused a controversy about talking about this stuff. But I feel like you are allowed to talk about it because you're part of the community. He's not allowed to talk about it because he's not part of the community. We should be allowed to have discussions about it without saying, "Well, you're allowed to talk about it and you're not allowed to talk about it." Where do you draw the line on who can say what?
That's a great question. I think that it's really critical that we keep comedy as kind of an open platform that is like restrictionless. It's one of the few art forms that we have left that we are kind of allowed to do it however we want, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think what is critical to keep in mind is that when you're really successful and people are looking at you and your jokes and your platform regularly, that you hold a little bit different of a power. And so it's kind of always really important to make sure that you're being more funny than you are racist, or more funny than you are sexist, or more funny than you are transphobic, right? And also just kind of looking at like why am I thinking that this joke is funny, right? And like for me, I try to stay in my lane with like my content as well, because like I know that for me it is easier to be more funny than really critical or harsh or mean towards the trans community, just because that's
Right.
my experience. I have stories for it, right? I don't necessarily feel that way about like race content, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm doing that, I got to be really careful that like I'm being more funny than I am fill in the blank, and so I think that comedians that have been doing this for years, that are specifically doing it, in front of really large audiences and on TV, they know that influence, and so when they don't take that into consideration to adjust their jokes accordingly, or try to, you know what I mean, kind of like make that point, then I think that that's where it gets a little slippery. So no, I don't think that it should be, you're allowed to talk about this and you're not allowed to talk about this. I think that we should all be allowed to talk about everything in this platform. I think that you're also allowed to get flack for it. I think that you're also
Yeah.
allowed to have people be like, yo, that's actually like not that funny. Or it's cruel, and as a comedian, being able to have a finger on the pulse of what that line is important.
Get it. Totally get it. And part of this is like,
Right.
you know, Chappelle was because I didn't watch most of these stuff that people got upset about, but in the first one where he brought up the subject of trans, he was talking about somebody who knew, and it seemed to me somebody he cared greatly about, and who was a trans person who ended up taking her own life. But it seemed like he was talking about her with genuine affection. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a person who's full of hate. But people perceived it as hate. Now they have every right to come out and say, I thought it felt like hateful and all that stuff. But you really can't ever know somebody. And I think some of the overreaction, and this is kind of the stuff with the guys, the conservative guys who got canceled or got gigs canceled. I don't want to say they got canceled because that's what they want to be called. They want the world to think they were canceled. It's this overreaction by groups that get upset and get in a mob mentality rather than a one-on-one. You know what? I felt like you were being hateful. I'm not saying my whole community needs to gather around and boycott you, but I felt like you were being hateful and address it in that way. You know what I mean? Rather than a lynch mob type of, let's get him, he said something.
Totally. I mean, it's the same thing with how we need to like kind of approach jokes, right? You know what I mean? I think that it's easier to be like, hey, this like funny, maybe, you know, shitty or like messed up thing happened to me, or they did that, like this one person did that to me. It gets a little sticky when you're just like, oh yeah, and all women. And it's easy to be like, well, I hate that person, or I hated this situation. You can't be like, oh, well, I hate all those people. You know, those people. You know, that's where it gets sketchy, right? And so I think that is both a really valid critique of the person that should be receiving that feedback and also the people giving it, right? I think that you're totally correct.
Right. Now, GD, would you like to, do you remember what you wanted to ask or say? Your comment? No, you didn't write it down.
What do you think? You think I'm just some old guy with long hair who does comedy stuff? No,
Yeah.
no,
I do.
Okay, well, just in case, I did write it down. Because I didn't know how long you were going to go droning on about.
Oh, shut up! I will mute you, you bastard.
I told you my parents were married. They weren't in love, but they were married.
Oh,
so all right. Here's the deal. Ren, I have a huge issue. I have a huge issue with the use or misuse of the pronoun they. Okay, in the Black community, they have replaced his, hers, and their with they. Like, let's go to they house, let's go to they store, you know, and it really, really pisses me off. Is there anything that you and your union can do to stop the Black people from misusing that word? Like, can
we could put them in chains. Have we tried putting them in chains?
You're welcome to. That will stop them, because that really bugs the fuck out of me. I can't stand to hear my own people saying things like that. It's like, where'd you go to school? We are better than this. Okay, we don't have to say acts. Okay, or in their house, we can do better.
I'm like, who's culturally appropriating who? Like,
right. That's what I want to know. Is there anything that your union can do to stop the Black people from misusing that word?
Oh, fam. Well, I love that you brought this up. That's like so funny. That's just like inherently funny. And also like, man, I ain't trying to stop Black people from doing nothing. Are you kidding? Like, what world? Like, no. Absolutely not. I know, you know, it's like growing up, I really didn't expect it, you know, when I was like a little girl and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I really didn't expect to be like, I'm going to be the most average looking white guy, you know, but like, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So we're just trying to like, you know, stay in our lane.
So in other words, are you telling me I'm stuck with it? There's nothing that the trans union can do to stop
well, you should talk to they about it.
They won't listen, is what I'm saying. That's the point.
No, take it up with them. Forget. Yeah, you need to take it up with them.
Them. You know, the movie Them. You guys are too young for this.
The giant ants.
Oh yeah. You're not too young for them. Yeah, the giant. It was about giant ants that would. It was like around the time the Blob first came out. Science experiment gone wrong, and giant ants were going to kill the world. That's all that's in my mind. Whoa!
And in order to fix the giant ants, they grew giant spiders, and then the giant spiders got out of control. And then they made giant birds, and then I don't know why they swallowed the flag.
I don't know. I don't know why you're talking about that one. Because I brought it up. Woke people. I hate being called woke. But I think what woke comes down to for me is, and this, people will call me woke for saying that if I just let you live your life however the fuck you want and don't and mind my own fucking business, I'm labeled as woke. And that bothers me. I like, don't put that fucking label on me. I'll call myself whatever I want. Now that could be exactly what it's true. But I hate the idea that, you know what, by being just tolerant of everybody and saying that's none of my fucking business, let them live their own life, whatever makes them happy, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. How do you feel about this whole, labeling people?
That's a great question, fam. I'm from West Virginia, which I will have you know is the best Virginia, and it's interesting, right? Because it's a pretty homogenous state, and there is a lot of like in a lot of communities, there's a lot of like trying to be the same. We're trying to
Right.
be the same. Now I'm in like New York City. What you just described to me is like all of New York, like all of New York, just been like that for as long as I think I can remember, right? It's
Right.
just people being like, well, I'm just doing my thing and you're over there doing your thing, and like I don't know, just don't, you know what I mean? Like cross my thing into your thing, and like we're good, right? And like I think that it's like we're already doing it, but then suddenly, you like take that mentality.
Yeah.
Especially in a city where the only privacy you have is like in front of you. It's like
Right.
it's like really in front of your face, right? And so suddenly you're just kind of like, I don't give a shit what other people are doing because all of my privacy is right here in this bubble. If we take that mindset and we put it, like with other like rural people, we got some country people that are all trying to be the same thing, and it's like important culturally that we're all the same thing, then like that's when I think it gets a little sticky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like important for like I think a lot of those places to like take on like a quote unquote woke mindset, because you're like, yes, so they could use some New Yorker in them. I mean, like not literally necessarily, but like I think that that's like, you know what I mean? That's where it could be helpful. It's not necessarily helpful in places that are like that is already built in here now.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
But I don't like the idea that woke was. I don't like that the conservatives are taking something that was meant to be good and turned it into something bad, just like they did the words like, it's like woke just meant you are, it's more like socially conscious. You're like, it was all the good things. And then they're like, don't you tell me y'all got to be socially conscious and tolerant of people. I won't be woke. So, and then it's like, well, I don't want to be woke either. It's like, no, you are woke. You're socially conscious. Like, I don't want to be woke. No, but you.
Honestly, I'd rather stay asleep. And this is especially at this. I'm a napping guy. If my life is planned
that's your
around.
name. You don't have to be that just because that's
I
your
wake and I say I don't want to be woke. I want to go back to sleep, and then I hit the snooze button on life again. This is where I at. So maybe it's just that. It's just like, yeah, woke is a bad thing. I want to stay dreaming. I love being in the dreams.
I mean, I don't like labels. I despise labels.
I'll say this
as a black man. I despise labels.
Wait, you're black? No, we can't have black people on this show. I'm sorry. You were saying something?
As an African American,
okay,
we can go through the whole alphabet. I could go alpha colored, all the way up to Zulu.
You don't have to. We're already gonna hear some stuff. Now, I just want to say before you go too deep into that, I did hear some stuff. Try to be careful when you name Tommy Chong's band last week.
I didn't name his band.
Hold on, let me just finish what I'm saying. It's fine after 10:45 after we're off Governor's network, but be conscious of when we're on somebody else's network to be careful about using any kind of language that might upset the other network. Once we're free and only on MindDog, you can say whatever you want. But
but just for the record, I did not name their band. They named their band. I only repeated the name of their band.
Yeah,
yes,
you said the name of their band.
But if they didn't want their name of their band said, they should have called their name something else.
Well, they did it in 1956.
When it was what? When they were woke?
When all those words were just thrown around like I don't know, spaghetti at a wall, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say there.
I deal with this every day, Ren.
Anyway,
I'm enjoying like watching you over there. Just kind of you're like purveying.
Yeah. Now let's steer the conversation back to you. I'm looking at your calendar here, and man, you lot of you stay as busy as I did in my prime, saying, basically gigging constantly. Are you doing this yourself? Are you handling your career? I mean, booking yourself all over the world like this? And do you have any advice for people who are starving to get that kind of work?
Yeah, I am booking most of it myself. I am a couple, like some things I'm producing, and then other things, most of them I'm just kind of like, getting to feature on other people's shows, which has been amazing. And truly, it just like, I feel like it has just come down to kind of taking people up on their offers. It's a real thing. Having like comedians come to Colorado and be like, hey, if you're ever in blah blah blah, hit me up, and I would love to have you. And
Where's
actually
blah blah blah? Because I
doing
might want
that.
to perform there.
Blah 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 is in Alaska, obviously. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Anchorage. Blah blah blah. Seattle. So
I'm going to
that's
be
been
there
helpful.
in
And then
August,
just like
so I
reaching
can-
out.
yeah.
Just like reaching out and being like, here.
Okay, I'm going to be in Alaska in August. I'm gonna see if I can get a gig at blah blah blah.
There you go, fam. Apparently Anchorage be popping. I had no idea. I was just like, what are y'all talking? Like, I was like, oh, there's no way I know anybody in Alaska. I know like 8 people in Alaska. And I was just like, what is everyone doing up here? Isn't it dark and cold all the time? Apparently that means they really like to laugh. I don't know.
Apparently, comedy is huge in Alaska. I've talked to so many comedians who make that part of their yearly tour and go there a lot. Now, how far Anchorage is not? You know what? I don't think I've really been in Alaska for more than a plane stopover. Anchorage is not that far up, right? It's not that far north. It's not in the coldest zone of Alaska. Or have you been?
Never been.
Oh, this is gonna be your first time?
First time. It's interesting. I've never there's so many people that I know that are just like, God, I just have to go to Alaska before I pass away. And I've never been one of those. I've never been like, you know what I really need to do? Go where it's dark and cold all the time. Like, I'm just good. I know nothing about Alaska. I'm thrilled to go though. I'm like really excited.
Yeah, I was about to say, you obviously don't know anything about Alaska because Alaska isn't dark and cold all the time. There's actually a section of time when it's light all the time.
Almost all the time.
And most
almost is it worse? Is that better or worse?
Well, I have friends that live and have lived in Alaska. One of the things is like
that depends on how well your drapes are.
I was just talking to one of my friends a couple of days ago, and he was saying it was worse for him when it was daytime all the time.
Yeah. Because
at nighttime, when he knows he wants to go to bed, he hears birds chirping, and all the animals are like alive and happy. And if you were in the States, the lower 48, those animals would be asleep.
Right.
So for him it was worse. And at nighttime, that's when it's night most of the time, like for like 3 months of the year, that's when it's like party all the time. That's when it's comedy is like thriving because people are stuck inside.
I can't laugh when it's light out.
That's why brunch shows are so hard, Like who's laughing at a matinee,
Yeah, right. No,
I but that's
rock and roll or comedy does not belong until the sun goes down. And it's difficult for me. I can't get in the right mindset in daytime shows. I just can't.
Matter of fact, when I was in prison, there was a guy that would race back to his cell after our anger management class so that he could get back in time to watch Ellen. Because he didn't want to miss her monologue. He'd always get upset. Yeah, he'd always get upset if he missed Ellen's monologue. So he would.
Can I ask what this guy was in for? What was he in for? Do you know?
He robbed a floor shop.
I'm sure it was a violent crime. I'm sure it was a violent crime. I don't really. I didn't get to know him that much. He was just in one of my classes. But that
that's pretty precious.
And it got me to start. I was like, because it was surprising. It took me by.
Well, hold on one second now.
I started watching Ellen, and I shit you not, bro. I used to laugh so hard at the Ellen DeGeneres show. What?
Your crime was technically a violent crime, right? Yes. Are we that delayed?
My crime was
brain.
What?
I said your crime was technically a violent crime.
No, it's not my brain. Yes, technically it was. Yes.
Yeah, we are very delayed. You're like
Even
15
though no
seconds
was
delayed.
Harmed or injured, it was considered a violent crime because I I wielded a weapon.
Well, the point I was trying to make
you
there,
want me
and
to
I
go
know
out,
you'll
come
hear.
back, and
Yeah, that
maybe
probably
that'll
would work.
make it
Yeah,
better?
yeah, do that. Yes, yes. Yes, I'm just gonna do this and remove him and let him take care of it. No, the point I was trying to make, and he'll probably hear this probably 15 minutes from now.
Tomorrow
Yeah,
morning.
is that we don't think of him as a violent criminal just because you're in there for what is technically a violent crime. Well, he's not a violent criminal. He robbed a flower shop because he needed rent money.
And Ellen might be. We don't know,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a whole other thing with the Ellen stuff. I don't even want to go there because I don't know enough about it. But so now, but you're managing your own career. What does that look like in terms of? Are you spending all day? Because you got to divide your time between trying to think of material and be funny, and now get serious and concentrate on business. Does how much time is that taken away from what you really want to do, the business management side of it?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that it's moreover a little bit of I think that is like less of the struggle for me as it is like, okay, honing in on content, making it tight, and wanting to try new things, wanting to try new content, wanting to like just throw out like the little observances that I had today. Or I passed, I was on my, like, I literally just got to New York yesterday. I was like passing billboards in New Jersey, and like I just saw like just a tremendous amount of ads that it was on a billboard that just said like, I got injured in NewJersey.com. That was it. That was the entire ad. That was just the whole thing. And I was just like, all right, that's the vibe, like this is the vibe. Like New Jersey doesn't have, you know what I mean? Just driving around, just like kind of getting like little bits of inspiration like that of different places and like wanting to try it out. But, being on a show and needing to do like a really tight 10 or something and not necessarily having the space to ramble about New Jersey's driving antics for like 2 minutes, So I'd say that that's kind of the bit now of kind of push and pull. But I mean, yeah, I just got to do an amazing show back where I'm from in West Virginia with a bunch of like my people in Colorado and people from kind of the DC area. And that was like the dream. So like, even though it was like, okay, like time to like, gussy up, like, and like do the thing. I think that, yeah, if you ain't having fun, why are you doing it?
Are you loving?
What part of West Virginia? What part of West Virginia? Because
I'm from the Eastern Panhandle. So West Virginia looks like this. I'm from right up here. So we're right a hop and a skip from Baltimore, right a hop and a skip from DC, so.
Okay, I'm in Maryland.
Wow. Oh, got you. Where in Maryland?
Yep.
Where in Maryland?
I'm just teasing. Westminster.
Westminster, I got you. Okay, cool. Not too
As
far.
opposed to the Eastminster and Northminster and Southminster, like you're in West Virginia. We're
Westminster.
We're in Westminster.
It's okay, I respect.
That's what his comedy shows are like. Making fun of East, West, and North and South. It's really hysterical. You gotta see it sometime.
You need a compass to find my joke.
Are you loving the adventure of the road? Because Friday, Sam Talent, who is from Colorado, is going to be in town, and looking forward to seeing him. And he's a guy who loves seeing America. That's part of the comedy experience. Are you in love with that? Like going to a new town. Obviously, you're only performing like an hour, maybe 2 hours in a night tops, right? And then you have all this extra time to see America. Are you loving that experience?
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. It's so fun. I love traveling. I just like love like trying different food, love meeting different people. This is my first time in New York, and so I'm like really, really enjoying like just hearing like conversations around and just like the feeling like all of these people like the energy is really amazing. So yeah, no, I'm totally loving it. And like Sam Talent's like so funny. He's got a bunch of really great observations, but he's like Colorado through and through. I saw him at Comedy Works like 2 months ago. And we had a really cute moment backstage. Yeah, no, he's a
really huge moment is being in a room with Sam. He's huge. He's really huge. So everything's a huge moment.
Fair, yeah, no. He's funny, and I think it's hilarious because like he really does feel Colorado to me, because like it doesn't matter what temperature it is, he's still gonna be wearing these like little teeny tiny gym shorts, you know. Like I just don't even. I'm just like, what these boys in them shorts in like -2 degrees. I'm just like, all right, I hear it. You're from here, okay.
I thought that was a youth thing because I even here in the middle of the winter, I will go out and it can be 10 degrees and I see young guys in shorts and I'm like, damn man, I'm wearing layer upon layer upon
My
layer.
son was
No,
like that.
yeah,
See, and
nope.
around down here, it's a white thing. Black people see white people dressed like that. We go like, them be crazy. They be crazy, you know.
You're a racist.
Because y'all got common sense. See, and that's the problem with like Colorado white men, is that they don't have none of that. They have money, so they don't need it.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what?
Colorado.
It's just interesting when you're going around to different parts of the country. It is like we are 50 different countries rather than one country who's and do you change your comedy at all when you're going into like places that are far more red?
Yeah, for sure. Boulder's definitely going to get different context than like Dallas, you know.
Right, yeah.
That's real. But what I would say is that I'm surprised. I'm constantly pleasantly surprised by people's senses of humor, right? Because I think that I expected New Yorkers to be dark. I expected them to like dark content, kind of be low, like cutthroat, cut edge, you know. And they're not. They actually are pretty lovely, like lighthearted people in a lot of ways when it comes to their comedy. So, and I think that that's because it's the rest of everything, the rest of the city, the rest of their lives, the rest of like kind of where they're getting a lot of their like daily input from, could be kind of already a little like dark and satirical and kind of like and so then suddenly in the comedy, something that's really silly or very goofy. Like I'm up there making goat noises for a joke and they're like, they're loving it, and meanwhile, like that's not going to hit actually as well in like, like a real like kind of rural community, even though it's a joke about working on a farm,
When you're talking about relationships, there's kind of that,
there's like there's an interesting perspective of like what is in people's daily life. And so how does that influence what they're going to crave in a joke, and getting to learn that is great.
But the difference is in New York, when you're talking about goats, you're talking about pets and animals. But in those other towns, you're talking about relationships when you're talking about the goats. So that's going to feel
you're talking about somebody's girl.
Right. That's going to feel different.
Yeah, they get mad.
Yeah.
It's got to hit different. That's right.
You're going to defend your loved ones.
Wow. You know what, you talk about silly. I think there's and Sam, again, I don't want to make this the Sam Town show, but one of the things I admire about Sam is he is not afraid to be silly. I think too many comedians want to be smart. They want to show the world how clever and informed they are, and forget about it. It's just about making people laugh. And sometimes you have to be silly. He can be silly, dark, all those kind of things. But I find that silliness is kind of lost in modern comedy. What's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I mean, I grew up with like Whose Line, and that's all silly. It's like, how possibly ridiculous and silly can you get with a prop, with a foam piece of card, you know what I mean? And so just kind of that vibe. I think that people, and we're seeing this in the, it's like adjacent but similar, right? In kind of the improv community as well. I think that I'm seeing people get less silly because they want to be smart and they want to be cool. And now the impression of like a cool guy is like, I'm Pete Davidson and I'm standing very still and I'm just so smart that I can talk into this mind and bring this room to tears. And like that is a take, right? There's kind of like a real talent in like certain deadpan forms of comedy. But at the end of the day, I also want to just laugh at Colin Mockery, who's put like a piece of foam on his head and he's pretending to be a little rooster. You know what I mean? Like that sounds amazing to me. Yeah. And I love that. And so to be able to me, it feels like a benefit because like I already want to do that naturally. I already want to do that as a person. And so getting to walk in a room with a bunch of like too cool for school comics and being the only homie up there that's going to make like a whoopee cushion noise, like that gives you a strange edge.
Right.
It does. Yeah.
Are you in New York right now?
I am. Yeah, I'm in New York right now. I'm here until the 6th. And
how long are you planning on being here?
I'm here for 2 days, and then I'll be scooting to a couple other cities like St. Louis and Dallas and Seattle, and then I'll be heading back here for a show on the 13th as well.
So the shows you performed here, they were on your schedule. They weren't like finding some mic time and that kind of stuff.
No, I was invited. I had one show that was supposed to be the day that got canceled, but I'm kind of happy for it. Happy for the day off. But I had a show yesterday at the Whiskey Cellar, and it was great. It was such a fun like little first show in New York. Like it was a really tiny little venue, but I knew a couple of the comics from a festival, and the crowd was really lovely, and it was just like it was just a really lovely like introduction to New York, I think.
When do you guys call Kurt Metzger and say we have a comedian on who got a show canceled and he's happy about it? Tell him about it. Because
what's his number? Give me his number. I'll call him right now.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
877 5309.
What was the one after 3? What was the one after 3?
Area code 000.
What was the number? The number after 3?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Do y'all remember phone number? That's a question. Do y'all like remember people's phone numbers? You got like, an important
just
phone
my
number?
wife's. Just my wife's. Basically,
Just my
not
wife's,
even
yeah.
mine.
I remember my home phone number from when I was a kid still.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
I remember that one too.
Well, I do
That's
because
all I got.
it was only 1 digit when I was a kid. Oh yeah,
I was gonna say, back in the day, did y'all have area codes? When did that become a thing? It became
Well, you've always had area
7
codes.
to 10.
Just a matter of because it was used for long distance. There was always area codes. Not always, but yeah, they've been around for a long time.
New Mexico had one area code when I was there, 505. Now I think it's got a couple. Long Island used to have one. Now it's got like 6. You know, New York, it's got like 6.
Yeah, the entire state of South Dakota goes under 605.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
They had to, once the populations got out of hand, they had to have more. That and with cell phones.
Right.
Cell phones, with almost everybody having their own phone number.
Because that took up a lot of different numbers, yeah.
Yeah, they had to have more area codes to encompass the variety, to give people more options for phone numbers.
Yeah, my brother got a phone call.
West Virginia, we're 304, and so everybody, it's like you'll see those like hometown tattoos where people be like 304 to the core. I love that.
My brother was telling me he got a text message from somebody. It said, "Is this Popeye?" And like, only one person called him Popeye like 40 years ago. A person he hadn't seen like 40 years ago. Like, who is this? It was the guy's daughter. The guy passed away, but she got a hold of his cell phone and was just going through the contact list and basically checking people. Like, who's Popeye? Yeah, but this is the world we live in now. You have it's all remembered for you, where in the old days you had to remember your best friend's phone number and all your friends' phone numbers.
Yeah.
Now we don't have that, but we are not using that extra brain space for anything. It's just like sitting there collecting.
Yeah, what are we using that for now?
It's just collecting dust.
Right.
Well,
right.
I remember when
the worst case scenario happened to me with that. I got arrested for a DUI, and the only number that I could remember off the top of my head was my ex-wife's phone number. And so I had to call my ex-wife to bail me out of jail when I got a DUI one time. That was terrible because it was literally the only number I could remember.
Unfortunately, that's most of America has your ex-wife's phone number just for that purpose too. So. I called her a couple of times last week. What were you going to say?
A different kind of release.
What were you going to interrupt with?
No, I was
probably wasn't funny.
This is when my mom had run into a childhood friend of mine, and they wanted to reach out to me, and so they asked my mother for my phone number, and they're getting ready to write it down, and my mother says 7, and then she stops, and they looked at he's waiting. It's like more number. She goes, "That's it. I just pushed 7 to talk to my son."
Bro, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
It's tough. Me or him? Me or Ren?
It's talking to you.
GD, because like I'm wondering 7. You were number 7 on your mom's speed dial. Fuck, I feel like that's a little far down for being my mom.
No, the people in front of me Well, first one, number one is not ICE. Number one was emergency.
ICE.
It's like some kind of emergency contact number. It was like one was like an emergency, and then two was probably her sister. I was like now I wasn't the first child either, but but I was 7 that's because that's when it got.
Yeah, if you ever want to know.
I like how you're like, no, it makes sense. You got, 911. You got maybe a sister, and then there's probably Sharice, Cherry, Rachel, and Rebecca, and you're like, and that makes sense. And then there's me, and then
somebody had a joke about that on Twitter last week.
Been like 3 or 4.
I think it was Mike Binder and somebody else were going back. Like, what number am I on your contact list? And they said 6, and it was like, who was number 5? And I forget what they. I'm thinking it was a serious conversation, but I was like, there's got to be some kind of joke in there somewhere about because. 6 is kind of low. If I'm not number
kids
1, I'm
these days
hurt.
Don't even use speed dial. You can't take it that personal. Kids these days don't even know what speed dial is. We're just like, oh, who's on your favorites list?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So now you're this week, right? Where are we here? We are in East Village, Manhattan. That was last night, right?
That's right.
All right. So this week you got St. Louis, Missouri. Now that's have you been there before?
I've been there once, and truly I was just passing through, hooked up with a dude and left. Like, that is all I know. A great first impression.
It is bipolar. Well, bipolar, no. It's at odds with itself. It is the religion capital of the United States. So like big holy rollers there. But it's also the porn capital of America.
I love my gay Jesus content. So
yeah. That's what
I thought that was Van Nuys, California was the porn capital.
No, St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, they had more. Well, I don't know if this is even because everybody's online now, but they had more brick and mortar sex toy and porn shops per square mile than any other.
Brick and mortar too. Wow, that's that's class. Like
right next to the churches. Often you'd see a church, then the sex shop, then another church, then another sex shop. Like,
that's lovely. On my way here, I had to drive through. I had to drive through a lot of like Amish country in Pennsylvania to get here, and that was just like my favorite thing was like you're like driving through those towns, and it's just such a small town, and there's just like there's like a little tiny like sex shop right there, and like it's like who's not gonna notice you in like that like trench coat with that hat, looking like a pilgrim walking into that sex shop. I mean, like genuine, like like how are you gonna hide from that? Like what do you you're like
right.
wearing a different
but
color?
They're all Amish.
They'll never know.
That's right. They're all Amish, so they're all dressed like that. So they're going to say, like, I saw you walking in plain sight. The black hat, the black, right. They're all look the same. So that's why you can get away with it.
How far are you from Amish country, GD?
I did some of it's right around the corner from me.
Take your phone and go tape some Amish jokes for us.
I was going to say, Westminster, I don't know. It's weird because Maryland's all like, size shape wise you're like up in everything, and so you're like
we're almost a conglomerate. It seems like we're part of every state, but
almost a conglomerate. Well, it's a bit Maryland in and of itself can just get a bit culty, but like I respect it from a distance. I'm just not of it,
from a distance.
From a distance.
That's how I feel about Wichita.
I love Maryland, and it's not just because I was born here, it's because it's got a lot of variety. And it's like I love Colorado and I love Maine. Those are my 3 favorite states.
That's fair. I feel like I have like an unfortunate, like growing up in West Virginia, I have like this like kind of unfortunate prejudice against Maryland people. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Like I love it. I respect y'all. Great food, great people. But even the other day I was on Grindr and this dude messaged me and he sent me a photo where he had a rainbow flag in the background and it had the Maryland crab in the center, and I just blocked him immediately.
Yeah, and you should.
I just can't be having that in my life. But I see y'all. Like I respect it from a distance. Y'all a cult from a distance.
Wow.
See, the thing is that what people don't understand about Maryland is that, like I said, our seafood industry is based on crabs. Okay, crabs are scavengers that eat dead things, which means we need more dead bodies in the water. We're not the murder capital. We are the crab feeding capital.
I think that you should be on Baltimore's like PR team. I think that would really like that's the sell to me. You're like, we need more dead bodies because we need more crabs.
Yes, that's what crabs eat. Crabs eat dead things. You throw in dead bodies, crabs get them, and they eat more. They get full, and they make more baby crabs, and the prices of crabs go down.
This is what his comedy shows are like.
Crab economy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crab economy.
Yeah.
And you need a map to find my jokes. Yeah. There's usually a PowerPoint right after my comedy, so I can explain what's going on. It's like, okay, so this is where I was talking about the crabs.
Oh, I love a PowerPoint, girl. Bring it on. Bring on the slide deck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you have to explain the joke, it's not funny. That's what I was always told.
If you explain the joke, it's twice as funny because now they've heard it twice. I don't understand. Matt, that's why you're not a comedian.
You're causing Willie to backslide into drug use.
Well, Willie admitted plainly, I don't know anything about comedy.
Listen, listen, if I'm gonna listen to this, I gotta hit this weed again because fucking Jesus.
I hear you. I'm almost at that point myself, except these gummies that I have will put me in a whole different mindset. Anyway, Ren, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Unfortunately, we have to move on, but please do come back sometime, man. And you don't have to be in New York when you're here. We're sending people to rendaw.com and check out the schedule. And anywhere in the United States, are you planning on going international at any point?
That's the hope, fam. That's the hope. I would love to make it out. So
good luck. And if there's anything we can do to support you, let us know. You got stuff, special stuff you want to promote, just let me know. If I can remember, I will always drop a line. My problem is memory.
And Ren, the next time you're on the show, come in and take the second hour. That way you can stick around after 11. That way we can say words like and instead of getting bleeped out because of governors.
Because we just love saying words like. Anyway,
I love those. All my favorite words, y'all. It's been so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Bye for now.
Yeah,
Rendaw, folks. Cool guy. Good stuff there.
Yeah.
You guys fight for a minute. I gotta do something. Just fight.
Okay.
What's up, GD?
You sent your itinerary for New York.
I mean, I'm setting it. I'm getting things in place. Yes.
I mean, but what you put in our phone.
Oh yeah, that's my flight. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't had a chance to look at that, but I'm not gonna. I haven't even looked at my itinerary for Alaska yet, and it's been sitting in my phone for like a month or two. So I'm really glad.
I was just sending you guys what days I wanted you guys to know what days I was flying in and flying out.
Yeah, because I want to look at see if I can make it up there one of those days. I want to try.
That would be dope as fuck, we could go harass Matt on his St. Patrick's Day gig. I mean, we could all.
But that's a Saturday. I'd have to do the church from. I'd have to do the Reverend. I'd have to help the Reverend do his show from New York, or late at night because it's a Sunday morning.
Right.
Or I would tell him to record it in advance, but he never knows what he's saying until Sunday morning. You can't record it in advance.
Well, I mean, any hotel that you're at or whatever, most of them are going to have Wi-Fi. You should be able to use that Wi-Fi to help the web do the show.
Well, it's not the Wi-Fi that bothers me. My phone has very good speed. The thing is, once I became an administrator, my phone, that's when my phone started acting up. And that's when you started hearing all the strange, remember, because we used to do the show. I used to do the show like from my yard, from my car. And I used to joke, I used to tease you about your reception. And like, I would be like, look at me. I can do this from the toilet on the airport.
Right.
And my phone, but once
I could be sitting next to the fucking thing.
Right.
And
But once I became an admin, my phone, it's like it had too much to do or something. And it's like, and it started getting worse and worse. And now it's gone completely out of its mind.
Broadcasting from the Rocky Cliffs of Shoreham, New York, you're listening to Mind Dog Radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was a little creepy.
That felt creepy.
It was a little creepy.
Yes,
was a little creepy.
Lord.
Mind Dog is your mind's best friend.
That cleanses the palate a little bit. Now I
That's
feel a little
better.
bit.
I like that.
That
almost
sounds like a Three's Company thing. Like we're about to do like a Three's Company
Exactly.
show.
Yes.
You should play that at the end of the band at the beginning of the show. Just real big switch up.
Oh, fuck. I don't know how to react to that. Mike Chavola is asking where his T-shirt is. It's with your best friend Mikey Scarione there. He's got your T-shirt. And what's up with missing Frank? Yeah, Kiara's dad. I don't know if you guys know. Willie knows Kiara. She used to be on the show. Her dad has gone missing since February 26th. Frank Raga. I posted his picture. Yeah. Here's the deal, man. Frank's a good guy, but he's always been, as long as I've known him, he's got girlfriends that last 3 or 4 months. He changes girlfriends quite often, which is not a bad thing. But he had his girlfriend living with him down in Florida. She claims, now he was last seen crossing the street, according to the police report, crossing a street, had no money on him, no cell phone, no ID. She claimed he was acting a little weird and went out for a walk and never came back. But she flew to New York. She flew to New York that night. Didn't wait for the police to find him or anything. And he's been missing now for a week and a half. I told my wife the story. She said she killed him. She killed him.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Where's this chick at then?
Huh?
Where's this chick at that he was seeing? She just out footloose and fancy free or what?
She just came back to New York. She back wherever she was living before she met him. Yeah, she didn't even wait for the police to find him, which is kind of suspicious.
It's very suspicious.
Yeah.
Very fucking suspicious.
Listen, Frank's a good guy, and I hope he's found alive. And you know what? I don't want to make light of it, but it's just the shit doesn't add up, and it's totally why aren't the cops coming and taking him back in for questioning now and browbeating her, because the story doesn't add up. He just went for a walk, no money, no cell phone, no. As long as I know Frank, he wouldn't go anywhere without money. Anyway, the story we were talking about on Friday with the body parts in the woods has grown.
Oh yeah.
Now there is a second body and a head. A woman said so. It's a couple, a man and a woman. Now somebody was on social media saying, "Oh, I've lived in Babylon my whole life. This is not the Babylon I grew up on, and it grew up in." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. This is
this related to the Rudy Giuliani and the priests and the fathers and this is all."
Yeah. The Gilgo Beach is in Babylon, and that is all about finding dismembered body parts all over the place. How's
the crab market there?
Pretty good.
Yeah, see?
Well, it was pretty good. It's not that good right now, to be honest with you. Blue claw crabs are getting pretty rare, but I think that's because of climate change and all that kind of stuff.
That's a downer too. Climate change. You need good climate and dead bodies to make a good crab.
So yeah, but at Babylon, I grew up in the town of Babylon, township of Babylon, and it's been a haven for crazy, creepy serial killer types as long as I can remember. So for people who go on, this is not the Babylon I know. No, they didn't leave it in parks next to junior high schools. I think dumping grounds. The dumping grounds are all used up. Nobody can find an empty space to leave a good body in anymore. That's the problem. We're running out of a good place to dump a body.
Yeah, police know where to look for them now. It's like trying to find a good spot for a rave that's not going to get raided.
Right. It's exactly what it's like. Now, I'm at the risk of making our guest who's in the green room run away. I have to share this story because I just have to share the story. I was talking with Ralph Dice Clay about the bodies being found in this park in Babylon, and he was talking about a time when he was fishing in a park in Babylon that is a stone's throw from there, and there's a little lake there, and he was fishing, and he had to take a dump. And I don't know why, because there are public restrooms not that far away. But he decided to go in the woods. and had nothing to wipe himself with, so he was tearing up his shirt and whatever. It was a gross story about it was uncontrollable diarrhea, and he was trying to clean up, and it was a mess and all this stuff. But he said, so he goes back to the fishing hole and he washes up in the water in the fishing hole there. And when they were leaving, he said they're walking through the woods and all they're seeing are all these shirts with shit hanging on and on every tree. Like he stumbled into a serial shitter's ground. we not only have serial killers on Long Island, we have serial shitters on Long Island. So
and they're marking their territory with shirts and flags. I like bears.
Belmont Park is full of
I mean, that's better than Sioux City. In Sioux City, like if they don't let homeless people like use bathrooms at gas stations or whatever, so they'll just like go if they don't give a homeless person the key, they'll just go over by the dumpster of the gas station and just drop child. They don't even wipe. They poop and then just pick up their pants and walk again. But
they're not wiping. How do you know they're not wiping? You know, you have to be like a party.
I've seen him. I've seen the dude like squat down, squeeze out a loaf, and then just pull up his pants
one
and walk
dude.
away.
You said they.
We can't have this a prolonged conversation today, but save it for when Carl comes back, because Carl has some firsthand experience with this stuff. And
we need to ask Greg about his experiences with people who take. Is Greg like an
Greg
expert?
probably doesn't have those experiences. Greg seems like an upstanding citizen.
Right. So we're going to be talking about healthcare and improving healthcare.
Okay, right. That's exactly what this. Yeah. So this is part of it.
Right. So just don't try to be funny because you're not very good at it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I have to play a really quick commercial, and then we'll meet our next guest. Anyway.
If I can't be funny, can I at least cuss?
Well, the thing was, you
30 minutes.
Yeah,
30 minutes.
Right. Here we go.
Hey there, I'm Mr. Geronimo, product manager for Tracy's Dog. What is Tracy's Dog? Well, for $50, we send you a high-quality sex toy right to your door. Yeah, $50. Are our toys any good? No. They're f***ing amazing. Yeehaw! Each toy is made with body-safe silicone. We are constantly evolving and innovating our product line. They are built for one thing, to shake your world with orgasms you ain't never seen before. Do you like spending $100 for your sex toy? 80 of it goes to retail. What about bumping into your family while at the sex toy shop? Good taste. Get the pleasure you deserve without broadcasting your secrets. And think of all the money we're going to be saving you.
That's fake money. Yeah, they must not be making a whole lot of money over there because they got a bunch of fake money in his fake money gun.
I have a question that I don't know the answer to this, so I'm legitimately asking. This is about sex toys. There is a market for people buying sex toys made in the molds of other celebrities. You know, it's like so and so's vagina, so and so's penis. What is the satisfaction of having a fake penis, even if it's like Brad Pitt's fake penis? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand the draw.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that another day. We're
gonna ask Greg. We're gonna ask Greg.
No, I see. Greg Vigdor is one of these people who is an author and a serious person, and he's probably wondering, what the hell did I get myself into? And
but he has a thing that says "Ask Greg anything." He has maybe this is a different Greg,
right?
But no, I thought "Ask Greg anything." I thought this was that Greg.
Well, no, that includes. It's not you, me.
Oh,
me. I can ask Greg anything. Your job is to try to think of one thing. Yeah, well, try to look black, and try to think of one thing that is sort of funny anytime in your lifetime before you pass away.
Jesus
would be good.
Christ.
Anyway,
Write that down.
with over 40 years of experience improving health and healthcare, Greg Vigdor is uniquely positioned to offer practical ideas on how America can fix its broken healthcare system. Greg has served as a CEO, policy expert, advocate, manager, and consultant in a variety of healthcare leadership roles. And he's got a book series, which is kind of a strange way to approach this idea. It's called the Irv Tinsley Health Policy Detective Series. He's here now, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Greg Vigdor. Greg, welcome to the insanity that you stumbled into. Good morning.
Yeah, great to be with you. And I can try to talk about serial shitting or sex toys if you'd like, but I know a little bit more about healthcare.
All right. Well, now,
how much is a little bit more?
A lot more.
Okay, all
A
right.
shitload more.
Healthcare has been a bugaboo for probably I'm thinking back in presidential administration, at least something that we've talked about since the 60s, LBJ and Richard Nixon. Nobody has been able to do it right. Obama tried, but it was still a very flawed system, probably the best that we've had, but still very flawed. Why it seems weird that when somebody says they know how to fix it, why have we? The long question is, why is it taking so long, and why is there so much problems getting it fixed?
Yeah, big answer, but I'll try to simplify it. It's so dang complicated and now so wrapped up in politics and ideologies and winning politics. So a lot of it's around the history of how we got there, which I do talk about in my books using historical fiction, especially the first book, The Theory of Irv. But a lot of it's really now about we're having these fights about the issues as the two parties define them, instead of the more practical questions of how do we just improve healthcare and how do we improve health? How do we build a well care system, not a sick care system? And the answers are maybe not necessarily the ones we spend all our public time grappling about. It's much more practical things about how to make sure people are doing the right things to take care of themselves. How are we as a society helping people to do it when you really need collective support to do it? And there's ways to do it, but we tend not to go there. We tend to go to the ugly, dirty fights about money and politics.
Well, let's talk about, because I agree that we are very divided and the two parties are at war. But it's my perception, and maybe you'll straighten me out about this, that the insurance lobbies doesn't care which party. They own both of them.
The way it's working right now, you're right. It's sort of the more liberal progressive systems are actually sort of captured by insurance models now.
Right.
And so we're kind of in this place where we're sort of stuck with what we got. And the question is, how do you get from here to a better place? And can you do it without insurers? It's going to be hard to do it because of their political power in part. But there's ways to sort of take the next steps.
Right. Well, the big criticism about Obamacare was the mandate, and the insurance companies writing part of the law. But then the Trump administration came in and tore Obamacare apart. The question I have is: are we better or worse now than we were before Obamacare came on the scene? With all it's an imperfect law. Okay, let's tear it down. Now we got almost nothing. Where are we? Are we better or worse?
We're definitely better, and for one really simple reason, that if you really try to talk about how to fix the healthcare system, one of the things you have to deal with is the millions of people that historically have been outside of the system, meaning they have no health coverage. And the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was outside of Medicare, the one political act we've made to actually bring in millions and millions of people into the equation. Not everybody, and there's a lot of underinsurance and other problems, but we did a significant closure of the problem there. The problem with the Affordable Care Act, it was also opportunity missed. There were other parts of the act that people forget were even talked about or even were included, around how it is we do better prevention, how it is that we get the cost of healthcare under control. And those things really ended up getting watered down and became really less meaningful than they really should have been.
Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act, was based on Romney Care, which worked very well in Massachusetts. At least I'm under the impression that it worked perfect in Massachusetts. What is the why is having the same system for 50 states not as effective as it was for just one state?
It's more of the complications of how it got implemented. Some of it being practically when the Supreme Court got involved and made the Medicaid aspects of it a state-by-state decision. That just basically brought it back to the old world model of every state fighting to create their own model, and many Republican states saying we don't even want it. So it's issues like that. Once it got complicated into the implementation phase, and again, a political fight. I was very involved in that. To me, it was more that as soon as President Obama proposed it, it was time for all the Republicans to say they opposed it.
No doubt about it.
It was based on a conservative Republican model. And at the end of the day, he got absolutely no Republican votes to support it. So
absolutely,
that really set the scene for why it really didn't get implemented as effectively as it could. Although there were other problems with it that were the fault of the administration.
I remember the day after Obama was elected, listening to Rush Limbaugh saying that they had to kill everything that he was talking about, and even though that the big thing that it was his number one issue was based on a Republican policy. It's like, you don't really care about America, then you just really care about winning. You just want to, it's like the Bob Dylan line, you only want to be on the side that's winning. That's all you care about, because if you really cared about fixing the problem, it wouldn't matter. You'd support this idea, which was originally a Republican idea. It's crazy.
Yeah. The other thing about that was that when people were polled about just the parts, without calling it Affordable Care Act, without calling it Obamacare, they were for most of the things until you said Obamacare. Then it's like, I hate it.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's more opposition theater. And I can actually tell you a funny story about that. When there was a debate about it going on before it was passed, I give a lot of talks, and I was called to Montana to give a talk there. And if you remember back in that time, there was this charge that the bill included death panels.
Right.
That we were going to have people sitting around deciding who lives and who dies in America. And so I went to give my talk, and Senator Max Baucus was the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, so a big player in all this. And there were hundreds of people lined up as I tried to make my way in to give my talk. And they were all dressed up in skulls and crossbones and, just really sort of this death theme, and just objecting to the fact that he might consider the Affordable Care Act legislation. And so I thought that was all kind of interesting. Well, I go back to my hotel before I can fly back home the next day, and I run into almost all the same people that were in those costumes. And I start talking to them in the hotel bar. And they're going like, yeah, we're flying out tomorrow. We don't live here. We were just paid to come here and do this.
Wow. So, wow, that's paid by lobbyists or paid by political action committees or something.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, they did the same thing with was it Bush v. Gore? They flew in a bunch of people down to Florida to make it look like there was all these people involved, and most of them were just Republicans that they flew in to protest, and then flew them back out.
So, that's what I mean. The barrier is really now more politics and the money involved in the system. There are ideas we can get through, but you got to figure out how to get them forward, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do now.
Well, this is where it gets confusing for me, because first of all, can it be fixed, and why would if it's such a difficult bag of bullshit and bureaucracy and just nonsense, why would anybody subject themselves to a Don Quixote windmill battle like that? Because even if it can be fixed, even if you have the best of ideas, implementing them, it's got to be like just an exercise in frustration. Yes.
So two things. One is it's just too important to ignore. I mean, we're all going to be affected by it, almost all of us. We all have our healthcare stories. We all are going to get sick, most likely, and we're all going to die. And how?
Whoa! What was that last part?
No,
we're all going to die.
We're all going to die. I got that on good authority.
This is how I find out.
What I'll tell you is that, having spent a lot of my career trying to figure out how to come together on this, when you start talking to regular people about this, there's an overwhelming crescendo of people saying, like, why don't we just sort of come together and practically fix this? There is a huge amount of people, way more over a majority, who just want to see solutions and are kind of sick of the partisan divide on this. It's just how do you activate those people? I'm trying to do it with my books and trying to educate people about the issues to give them a baseline where they're not stuck in the old world.
Do
Well,
the
that
people
was
in
good.
your book die too? Do the people in your book die also?
They do.
Damn it.
It says murders right in the second book. It says murders, right? You would think somebody died when you see the word murders.
But everybody gets murdered?
I have to
Not
just,
everybody.
yeah, everybody. So yeah, but now you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I was going to ask you, like, do you feel like writing the books is the best effective way to kind of sway public, get some energy behind it rather than just talk? Because I feel like I feel like we've been talking about it since 1965 or something. But we can talk and talk and talk, but nothing's going to get done until we actually get off our asses and do something.
Yeah. Yeah. For now, it's the thing for me to do. I spent 40 years out there on the circuit trying to do exactly this and felt good about a lot of the progress we were making, frustrated by how slow it was, but we have progressed. And it's just, I found myself in a circumstance where it was time to go away from the big jobs. And then COVID happened. It was like, I think I want to start writing about this and try to figure out a creative way to get the issues in front of people different than what I used to do. And so far, I'm actually pretty pleased with the dialogue my books are starting to create. Long way to go, and a lot more books to write before we get to a place. I think we also have to realign a bit more politically before it's going to be really possible. But that time will come. We'll just have to wait through the current crazy time.
The COVID broke us mentally and
Yes.
emotionally, and it's changed our world in a fundamental way to the point where it makes these discussions it makes them angrier, it makes them more volatile. I don't know. It's a very strange thing. Do you have any insight on what exactly happened to the American psyche during this whole pandemic thing?
Yeah, I don't think any more than anybody else. But part of why I wrote my second book and called it The COVID Murders, it was less about COVID and more about that time that we can all agree there was this thing, at least called COVID, whether we believe in it or not, that made people nutsy. And including in what happens in that book, it's more the context set of people just being unable to agree on whether the color in front of you was red or green, right?
Right.
And it's we still got to work that through, and the current presidential campaigns are not going to help that. We got to get through at least that, maybe more, before we can again sort of get back to where we can talk normally as human beings. Maybe more has to happen than that. But
yeah, did you ever think that you were going to end up being a politician? Because no matter what, if you're involved in healthcare, you are a politician in some sense of the word. It is a political battle, right? Was that in the plan when you were starting out in your career? Like, this is going to be, I'm going to end up a politician.
I knew I'd have to deal with politics, but I was committed that I'd never be a politician.
Yeah.
Still, I'm a proud independent. I want nothing to do with either party.
Me too. Yeah. But you definitely have to be a politician to talk about this.
Yes.
You know, you have to, politician is a dirty word, but
right, you can be a civil servant. I still prefer if you want to do something, even if it's political, but if you're not doing it for your own sake, but for the sake of the people, I consider you a civil servant, not a politician.
Yeah,
fine. That's
fine. Yeah, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah, and I understand that politics is a dirty word and political is a dirty word, but at the end of the day, it's all about trying to have discussions in a polite way. That's where the basis of political comes from. And so, no matter what, this is a political landscape that we have to kind of tread in. It's a difficult one. It's really because we are becoming so much more divided. Yeah. And here's where I wanted to go with that is that before COVID, there was a anti-vax movement, but it was small. It was fringe. It was conspiratorial-minded people. They're putting all these chemicals in there that are causing autism and all that stuff. Since COVID, half the country is now against all not just the COVID vaccine, but they want to eliminate all vaccinations, and even the ones that saved the fucking planet, if I might say so.
Yes.
That's got to make this whole it complicates everything. Just the emotional impact of the COVID vaccine on all vaccine discussion has complicated this whole conversation. Yes,
I agree completely. It's probably the one thing that has made me crazier than anything else is watching that, being pretty well trained in public health and watching vaccines over time, but especially this one. And people ask me all about it at the time. I'm going like, near as I can tell, this is maybe the safest vaccine ever developed. And
right.
It clearly has some work and some efficacy that was really helped to slow down this incredible surge of deaths that we had. And then talk to people who are just like, oh no, I saw something on TV or on the internet that says if I take a vaccine, it's going to kill me. And we're like, I don't know where you're getting that, but it's not accurate.
Right. Yeah. No, it's killing everybody. 7 billion people have been killed by the vaccine.
Yeah.
I have to say that was a joke. YouTube, please don't. Obviously, 7 billion people. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, but that that is complicating where we're at, and I don't know how we get past that. Now, you obviously, I cursed you up by calling you a politician, and I apologize for that. But you have to talk to people in politics, but you also spend a great time, I'm assuming, talking to medical professionals. Do you see the medical professionals being swayed by the lunacy and the conspiracies? People, doctors and nurses are. I see a lot of nurses, if I have to say so, being sucked into the anti-vax stuff. Nurses who spent their whole life in healthcare. Do you see it as much in doctors?
Not any more than nurses. I think in general, there's a swath of any profession that has that element in it. But I find in the medical people, it's much more a deeper sense of frustration with the times, especially those, partly what I write about in this book. This is the frustration I want to get. People who are going into the hospital and spending their time endangering their own lives and their families, taking care of people that had this virus, and then going to the grocery store and having people in the community attack them because they had their scrubs on, as somehow they were the ones that were trying to kill them, not the virus. And it was really just demoralizing for, I think, lots and lots of medical professionals, and really turned them on, why am I doing this life of virtue that you were talking about? Was it worth it? If that's my reward, is to get just beaten up in my community for trying to do the right thing and taking care of people.
Yeah, I've been on this kick about every time I see these people who are like listening to Candace Owens or Joe Rogan or any of these people who, you know what? Next time you break your leg, instead of going to the doctor, go to Candace Owens or Joe Rogan and ask them to fix it for you. Next time you get cancer, somebody in your family gets cancer, send them to Joe Rogan. Forget your doctor, you know, because everybody is a medical expert now, and it's you know, all that stuff. But the biggest frustration I see, and we'll get to the books after this question, biggest frustration I see in the medical field is just overworked, exhaustion, and the lack of, because people are human, what we're seeing is when we see nurses and doctors being exhausted and worn out beyond what should be expected of any human being, is we see what the reason they got into the healthcare field in the first place was an overwhelming sense of empathy. We're seeing that sucked out of a lot of doctors and nurses. So it becomes a job and an exhausting job, and one you hate, and then every patient becomes your enemy. That's, I think, one of the biggest problems in healthcare. Do you agree with that, first of all? And if so, how do you address that beyond? Because no law is going to change that, or maybe it will. I don't know. Let me hear from you.
That is definitely a problem. I actually think one of the biggest problems, because medical professionals, they've dealt with these types of frustrations their entire career. I think the other thing that's happened, and COVID contributed to this indirectly, was a lot of these medical professionals are losing control over their profession and their independence and their autonomy in the wake of these larger and larger health systems and insurance systems that are taking over and saying, we're the ones really effectively are practicing medicine. You're just there to be our agent to do what we tell you to do. And I think that's the greater danger than one you're talking about. They're both important, but this is the one that's really growing and grew more during COVID, as a lot of the smaller hospitals merged with bigger hospitals and insurers took over and Amazon started doing healthcare. It's sort of who's in control of this now. And it's far more these corporations than the professionals.
Pretty dangerous to be. Go ahead.
Where do you stand on nurses and the dancing TikToks? I'd like to know that.
What?
I guess I'd have to see one, but in principle, I guess I'm.
Oh yeah,
for it.
oh yeah. That's.
I did not know about this.
I don't know.
Yeah. One thing you can definitely search dancing nurses. You're gonna get a million TikToks.
Wow.
And doctors too, and doctors as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've learned something here today. Now the link
talking
to
about their exhaustion. I'm like, they don't seem that exhausted to me in these TikTok videos.
You know, maybe that's just blowing off steam from the exhaustion
Right?
of.
No, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. You know, after
it's a good song.
You know,
it'd be a really good song.
Yeah.
We have the link to the Amazon page where you'll find the book series. Now, the latest book is the COVID Murders. The first one was the Irv. Something. What was the
Theory of Irv. The Theory of Irv.
Theory of Irv. Now, we mentioned. I asked you if you ever envisioned yourself being a politician. Did you ever envision yourself being an author?
I do confess to that.
You did. So this is something you'd want to do for years before you got started.
Well, when I was a little kid, I would sit around and start writing novels, and I always had this sort of interest in doing it. When I kind of found myself in COVID, I had just left a big job, and I was just sort of hanging out. And then there was nothing to do because where would you go during COVID to get a job? And I said, well, let me just sit down and start to write. So I did, and I thought it was just for a big yuck bucket list type of thing. And I wrote the first book, and then there was interest in it. And now it's kind of turned into, well, I guess this is my second career as a writer, because I'm not sure I want to go back to the craziness of what I used to do every day.
Good for you. But now I was going to say that, and this is probably a way overstatement, but the challenges of and the frustrations of understanding the publishing industry are almost as frustrating as trying to fix healthcare. But obviously you wrote your second book, so you've gotten past that initial, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Learning anything regretful about getting into the publishing business?
Yeah, I learned just exactly what you're saying, but then I also saw, again, there's hope for everything. The whole concept of self-publishing is a difference maker. So I dipped my toe into the traditional world for about a minute and said, that's not for me. That's never going to work. But the ability to self-publish your book and figure out how to do all the pieces and get it up and market yourself on Amazon, that at least gives you a chance.
Wednesday evening this week, I have a interview with a 7-year-old who has published his first novel, and he's marketing it himself. And I said, I insisted that you bring your mother. It's just, it's just weird talking, but it should be interesting. But if he can handle it, if he can handle it at 7 years old, why can't I? That's the question. But so now this is a series, which is, almost a trend in publishing now, is writing books in series rather than starting on a whole new idea from the beginning. Is the series finished with the second book, The COVID Murders, or do you envision another book after this to continue the series?
No, I'm working hard at book 3, and I'm committed to at least 5 in the series.
Wow. Is it an enjoyable process for you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the writing. Some of the marketing and other stuff is kind of bullshit and drives me a little crazy. But the writing itself is fun. The creative part of thinking about fun stories that have meaning is fun. It gives me something to do now that I'm sort of hanging out in semi-retirement, other than just, working my golf game like my friends do. And so, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
All right, good for you. Well, that's great too. You know what? A lot of people are discovering, life is short, and I got to do what I want to do before. It's nobody. We're not born on this into this world just to slave away at a job that just sucks the life out of you, and then just play shuffleboard until you die. So good for you. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
The
other
writing
fun thing I get to do is I try to have my books take place in interesting places and then go visit them. So the second book takes place in Nashville. I had to go there for a little bit to check it out and make sure.
Doing your research.
Takes place in Las Vegas, so I got to go there and check it out.
Very good. Now, you do it before or after, while you're writing the book, or after you've written the book?
While you're writing, for sure, you gotta be authentic.
I would think so. Gee, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's gonna. For all right, when you're putting together your book, do you think about the font? I'm just saying it because, like, for example, I actually am very fond of Comic Sans as a font, but when I send people material to read, I usually pick something like Verdanda or Arial. Saying, do you think about the font in your book? What you like to see, how you like to envision it?
Yeah, I don't. I do whatever. I've got some coaches, and I say, figure it out, because I'm not interested in fonts.
Yeah,
I just really try to work on the ideas.
Yeah, there are guidelines, especially in self-publishing, and what you can do, and they tell you. But yeah, you would never want to use like Comic Sans in publishing a book, self-publishing a book.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I like that personally. So for
Yeah.
myself, but when I send things out to other people, it's like Verdanda.
You get overruled by Amazon on that. Like, nope, send it back. Yeah. Now, as far as the writing process, are you a guy who extensively writes out outlines and all that stuff, or you just sit there with a blank page and start typing away?
Mostly the latter. I just start a story and I start writing. I have a crude idea of what I want to do, and I'll sit down over an extended period of time every day, just write another chapter at random. And then at some point, and it's usually about how my character is getting deeper and deeper shit. Pardon my French. But then at some point I go like, oh, I got to get him out of this. And that's usually the day of writing of, well, this is too complicated. I can't possibly somehow get them out of the mess they're in. But you do.
A lot of authorship is painting yourself into a corner and figuring how to get out of it. Are you Irv Tinsley?
No, it's there's certain elements that clearly are mine. It's sort of a thing, and since I didn't know what I was doing, I tried to write about what I knew about. So I knew about healthcare, and I know myself pretty well. So those elements are in there, but it was more out of necessity to start. And now I'm finding the parts that I think I like about myself, and I might accentuate those and ignore all my faults.
I get it. Yeah, no, for some reason, I asked that question of almost every author about the protagonist having a lot in common with the author, and a lot of authors for some reason get very defensive about that. They don't want to give up, because it's almost like a more imagined better version of yourself, and they don't want to give away what's real and what's not real, what parts are accurate and what parts are not about themselves. It's up to you to guess. But I feel compelled to ask that question nonetheless, even though I know I'm going to get kind of maybe a little bit, I don't know.
Well, especially the first book, The Theory of Irv, really references is sort of the character getting to the point where to try to live a life of virtue, do good for others rather than just live life for yourself. And that is certainly the philosophy that saved my career. And that's what drives the sort of underlying philosophy of the book. So I can't extract it from myself at all. I had to celebrate it.
Yeah. Are you doing, is there an audio book version of both the books yet?
There's an audio of The Theory of Irv already. The audio for the second book is under development, should be out soon.
And are you reading it in the audio version?
I do, yeah.
Was that an enjoyable experience, or was it a nightmare? Because it could be a nightmare.
The first one was closer to the nightmare because I had to do it 4 times, and it's a long book. And it just drove me crazy. By the end of the 4th time, I was going like, I hate this book now.
Now, how do you keep your voice consistent? How do you keep your voice consistent so that through the whole thing, it doesn't sound like the tired you or the I've just had too much coffee so that how do you maintain that consistency, or do you?
That's one reason why it was so hard, was that I found I could only do 2 hours a day or so where I could control my voice and do exactly what you're talking about consistently. And then it would start to tail off into really ugly sounds. So it just takes so long to do it.
I know
and every day I'd be in my little cubicle, like 4x4, trying to get the sound right and focus on it. And it just got old, especially the 4th time I did it.
No, I get it. Welcome to the world of a recording musician, by the way. You said fourth time
Mm.
you hated it. Every musician except Willie, who is just loves everything he does to the point of uh, never letting go. But for most people, we
It's
get in
not
the
true.
you write a song, and by the second time, before you even get to the recording studio, generally you hate it. But definitely by the third or fourth take, you hate the song. You wish you never wrote it. And by the time it's mixed and mastered, it's the worst thing ever, and I never want to hear about it. But then you have to relight that the original love you had for it when you first created it to get out there and start marketing it. So that's a challenge.
Yep. Yep.
Well, now before I let you go, this book, it's really appealing. The color. I mean, the cover of the book, and you know what they say: don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody does. This book looks pretty stunning. It looks like a fun read just by the colors and stuff. How much are you involved in that, or do you just hand that off to somebody else to do for you?
So I handed off both of my covers to a professional to do it, but in both cases, I gave them the themes that I wanted to try to bring out. So for this one, I said I think it's my underlying story is kind of a film noir thing, and that's what he tried to create with this cover.
Yeah. You know what? Again, it's a cliche. Don't judge a book by its cover, but we all often do. It's funny that this book's like a fun read, even though it's got COVID and murder right in bold letters right on the cover there. Not fun topics, COVID or murder, but it just looks like a fun read. It definitely does. It looks like it's an intriguing book. The link
Yeah,
is.
but his use of the word "the" is fantastic.
I know the. Uh, we're seeing the best of GD's comic abilities here today. Anyway, you know what? It's been good to get to know you. The last question I have for you about this: are you hopeful? I mean, really, truly, in a realistic way, hopeful and optimistic for the healthcare system being fixed in our lifetime?
I am, as long as there's no more pandemics, it will shorten our lifetime. But again, there's lots of progress been made. There's lots of ideas out there. There's lots of people who are trying to figure it. We got to get through this political cycle at least to find a place where we can come together. But I say this mostly because back in the 2000s, we were pretty divided on this. And part of my work back then was to run some experiments is what happens if you put people in a room who are ideologically and politically divided and try to get them to agree on healthcare as an issue and solutions. And we found raging interest in coming together and finding solutions and things that people would support. So if you could just sort of take that model and nationalize it, you have the answers ready to be implemented. But we got to get to a place where that is more possible.
Yeah, what I just heard was get the politicians out of the way and put the real people just here.
Exactly. And so writing a book fits with that. Try to get the people more educated rather than listening to the political drivel that they get regularly about these issues. And so I think we can do that. I mean, the internet is out there. It does some bad, but it also can do some good. So
I agree. Well, thank you for being here. When you write your book, if this hasn't been too much of a nightmare for you, please when you publish the next book, please do come back. And in the meantime, the Amazon link to where you find both books is in the description, and we wish you great success with that. And thanks for being part of the program this morning.
Thanks. Love being on.
Bye for now. Bye. Greg Vigdor. Let me get back to this look. How about this look? That's better. Willie, you were so quiet during that. You hate these political. No, I'm saying goodbye to Govs right now.